Have you ever seen a Su-30 flying at an ultra-low altitude of 60 meters? When this Chinese Air Force Su-30MKK fighter jet, loaded with live ammunition, plunged toward the horizon in a near-vertical dive, tearing through the sky-sea boundary and unleashing a violent air current above the cockpit of a Philippine reconnaissance aircraft. The life-and-death standoff that unfolded on August the 14th over the waters near Huangyan Island, in the South China Sea once again demonstrated China's unwavering resolve to defend its sovereignty. This 20-minute close-range intercept was not only a showcase of the fighter jet's peak performance, but also a meticulously designed strategic deterrent. The Chinese Air Force measured every coordinate of its airspace with its wings, and declared its sovereignty with the roar of its engines. The twin-engine heavy fighter jets roared past, leaving white contrails on the azure canvas, with 4 missiles hanging beneath their wings, gleaming coldly in the sunlight. The Su-77 medium-range air-to-air missiles mounted under the fuselage use active radar guidance, with a maximum range of 110 kilometers, capable of locking onto targets beyond visual range. The Su-73 short-range dogfight missiles on the wingtips are equipped with high-sensitivity infrared seeker heads, capable of locking onto enemy exhaust nozzles even at ultra-low altitudes of 60 meters. This deadly combination, paired with the Su-30MKK's renowned Cobra maneuver capability, enables this 27-ton aerial fortress to swiftly assume an attack position. When the pilot of the Philippine Cessna C-208B reconnaissance aircraft looked up to see the vast underside missile pylons, few would doubt the Chinese pilot's resolve to press the launch button. The choice of Huangyan Island as the stage for this aerial showdown was no coincidence. This coral atoll, shaped like an isosceles triangle, is located at 15 degrees 07 north latitude and 117 degrees 51 east longitude, strategically positioned as the gateway to the eastern South China Sea. From a military geographical perspective, it points like a dagger toward the Philippine Subic Bay military base, just 230 kilometers from the western coast of Luzon Island, yet over 1,000 kilometers from China's Hainan Island. This asymmetrical distance highlights the value of the Su-30MKK's long-range strike capability, with an operational radius of 1,600 kilometers and an airborne endurance exceeding 10 hours after aerial refueling. It serves as the Air Force's heavy hammer in implementing the forward presence strategy. Through cockpit footage, it can be seen that Chinese pilots consistently maintained their intercept flight path within the 12 nautical mile territorial sea line of Huangyan Island. This precise spatial control is enabled by the synergy between Beidou satellite millimeter-level positioning and onboard synthetic aperture radar. When the fighter jet flies at an altitude of 200 feet, 60 meters, the wing tip vortices are sufficient to cause severe turbulence for smaller aircraft like the Cessna. This tactical maneuver, known as jet wash, avoids direct fire that could trigger international disputes while conveying an imminent threat through physical effects. Warnings in both Chinese and English over the radio channel, combined with the roar of engines, create a multi-layered psychological deterrent. What is intriguing is the generational gap in equipment between the two sides. The Cessna C-208B deployed by the Philippines is essentially a reconnaissance platform modified from a civilian aircraft, with a maximum speed of only 352 km per hour, akin to a slow pigeon in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, China's Su-30MKK can perform supersonic intercepts at 2 Mach speeds, with performance disparities as stark as a falcon attacking a sparrow. However, the gap in equipment reflects a strategic divide in thinking. Manila seems to be clinging to the illusion that low-cost probing can yield political leverage, forgetting that modern warfare has long entered the era of system-on-system confrontation. When the Philippine pilot heard the Chinese warning over the public channel, he was not merely facing the Su-30 before him, but the intricate network of air defense systems established by the KJ-500 early warning aircraft in the distance. The 20-minute duration of this interception holds a hidden significance. In modern air combat, beyond visual range strikes often decide the outcome within seconds. Why did Chinese fighter jets persist in close-range dogfights? Military experts point out that this was actually part of the standard identify monitor deter procedure, while intentionally creating a psychological pressure window for the opponent. Like a cat toying with a mouse, every second spent under the threat of death erodes the opponent's psychological defenses. The Philippine military later complained that China's actions were dangerous and unprofessional, which precisely proves the success of this psychological tactic. When the reconnaissance aircraft returned to base, the recorded close-up footage of the Su-30 carrying missiles would become an enduring psychological shadow. Looking at the recent situation in the South China Sea, this incident can be seen as a miniature replay of the 2016 US-China standoff in the South China Sea. Back then, The Chinese Air Force used H-6K bombers to patrol Huangyan Island, but now they've upgraded to more aggressive fighter jets deployed at the front lines. Reflecting the deepening development of the anti-access, area denial system, the Su-30MKK's wing pylons can not only carry air-to-air missiles, but, after modification, can also carry YJ-83 anti-ship missiles, meaning a single fighter jet can control a 300 square kilometer maritime area. When such aerial combat power flies at a height of 60 meters over the islands and reefs, it conveys not only a signal of airspace sovereignty, but also a strategic warning to potential intervening forces. From a broader perspective, this standoff occurred shortly after the United States announced the establishment of 4 new military bases in the Philippines. The Subic Bay base is only 200 kilometers from Huangyan Island, and China's decision to demonstrate its military strength at this sensitive time and location is akin to directly declaring that any external intervention will not alter the power balance in the South China Sea. Notably, the Su-30MKKs maintained their flight within international airspace throughout the operation, demonstrating both professional competence and the strategic wisdom of reason, advantage, and restraint. China does not need to intrude into another country's airspace to prove its presence, as this sky is inherently the heritage left by our ancestors. The Huangyan Island Reef forms a natural harbor, with a diameter of 15 kilometers underwater, possessing military potential far surpassing that of Yongtsing Island. If the Hongqi 9 air defense system and anti-ship ballistic missiles are deployed in the future, they will form a triangular defense system with Yangshu and Meiji Islands, completely controlling the heart of the South China Sea. The aggressive posture of the Su-30S in this incident may be a preview of Huangyan Island's future strategic value. The Chinese Air Force is using the deafening roar of its engines to declare to the world, the airspace over this vast blue territory is not a virtual boundary on paper, but a real sovereignty that must be constantly measured by the flight paths of combat aircraft. This thrilling aerial showdown ended with the Philippine reconnaissance aircraft retreating in haste, but the swordplay under the South China Sea sky has far from dissipated. After returning to base, the missiles on the fighter jet's launchers will be carefully inspected and reloaded, awaiting the next aerial patrol. On the broader strategic chessboard, this 60-meter ultra-low altitude raid has become a vivid illustration of the new era's military strengthening strategy. The People's Air Force is pushing the frontiers of territorial defense into the deep blue, through increasingly frequent distance sea training, and using the roar of aircraft engines to compose an epic of the new era's skies. As the setting sun casts a golden glow on the twin vertical tails of the Su-30MKK, and as a tropical cyclone sweeps over the coral reefs of Huangyan Island, this stretch of sea, which has witnessed countless historic moments, once again records the heroic deeds of the Chinese Air Force. From the aerial dogfights of 2016 to today's low-altitude deterrence, from the Flying Leopard to the J-20, a generational leap, the People's Air Force has completed a strategic transformation over 2 decades. The South China Sea is no longer a free-for-all arena, but a 3-dimensional Great Wall built by Chinese warplanes.